Good morning. I gotta get ready to take my walk. I don't even feel like it, but I'm gonna get it done. I should have been gone. I was thinking. Anyways, quick note this morning. Um, I can't help being me, so I guess I just have to be me. And you guys will have to get used to seeing this ugly face because I'm gonna stay in yours until we can make some change. I'll take a little bit of change, pocket change. Anyways, yeah, I guess when I'm initiating, I don't really know how to describe to you guys what's happening. I'll be diverse in the way I express it. I say, okay, I'm meditating, God's talking to me, something. I really don't have good language to describe, you know, and I'm careful because I'm very precise when it comes to terms and words. And so I'd rather give options as opposed to try to choose a fixed um, way of expressing it. But anyways, whatever is happening, whatever that this experience that we have capacity for, um, almost like a radio, or yeah, a radio. The old school radios would usually have two knobs on them. One would be the volume, and one would be the tuner. And so with that, I think that we're all much like radios. We have the ability to amplify through volume or to align through tuning or station. You understand? So, anyways, I don't want to get too complicated this morning because I'm going to wind up running down a path where I forget where I wanted to, why I even turned on the phone in the first place. So, I wanted to talk about love, but love not necessarily from the emotional perspective, but from an architectural perspective. And I just want to make the correlation to for love equals um, systems integrity. Um, or integration, I think is the word I was thinking. Integration. Yeah, systems integration. Integrations, right. Integrations and alignment. So from my meditations, I'm thinking, like when I'm making these connections this morning, and I'm probably going to get into the fast pace now because I'm trying to get it out because I feel like I'm going to forget something. I'm going to lose something. Um, because it was really good when the signal hit, and that's what makes me turn on the phone. But the challenge is keeping that signal strong until I can communicate it out. You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes it'll fizzle because the brain is just on to the next thing. You know what I mean? So you really have to control your mind. Um, but love, like love, let's take the romanticism out of it and look at it, because here's what God is revealing to me is that His love language is systems consistency. It's integration. Love is integration. He wants things to work together. He wants things to be in concert. But at the same time, there is independence. I'm probably making this video sooner than later, sooner than I should be, because I think that this is another consequence of having a signal container and the opportunity for reflection and feedback, because a human that's like catnip to a human. That's just why social media is so, the dopamine that's associated with that. Like I get something that I think that you will appreciate in my mind. I have a vehicle with which to transport that thought idea, this, whatever. And, the likes, the clicks, whatever like that, or just the idea that it's out there and people have seen it. That's some degree of satisfaction. Like, you know, so the behaviors, like even what I'm doing now, all of these things have a root. We and from the one-to-one human interaction, we love to try to, you know, reinforce our uniqueness of the fact that we're not subjected to uh, rhythms and influences, and that you think that you're doing what you're doing because you decided to do it. You know, 95% of the chance that's not the case. Even for myself, and this is the thing that fascinates me with it. You're like, even if you're in a state of awareness. Now, granted, you can steer. Now, what I have the ability to do is to look like, okay, why am I thinking about doing that? Do I really want to do that? Or, but you have to be in a place where you're in constant self-examination. And that's not a good thing for many people, because a lot of us can't help that. There's so much to learn concerning, reflections, shadow work. Like, what is the experience that's happening when a person is doing self-examination? Like, is that a muscle that you have to build up to be able to see, or is it kind of conceptual, an idea where you have to kind of let go of the thought of who you think you are? It's probably more of that, you know what I'm saying, which is the house or the seat of the ego. But the ego itself is not a bad thing. The ego it's like a wild beast. It's like a strong animal that could be subject to your control, that is useful to you, but if you allow it to kind of run roughshod, it will cause a great deal of discomfort and chaos. And then you will be trying to protect your beast's behavior and try to justify it to others, when others, you know, may have different relationships with their beasts. And the collective community may have determined a neutral point where, okay, this is the common behavior that we accept, and then when you have those personalities that have kind of explosive egos, it's off-putting. Or there's so many interesting intersections there, because there's ego, then there's insecurity. If a person has a base level of confidence and they're running into a person that identifies with characteristics and has had some desire to display some similar characteristics with themselves, but they may have been a little reluctant. So you have all of these interesting variables to human interaction. And so, anyways, I lost myself, man. I hate when I do that. That's what happened, because I have so much going on. I can fill in the gaps, but I don't like that. I don't like letting myself deviate, because I get very frustrated when talking with people, and the conversation itself is incoherent. Like, it's not following any kind of sequence. We're off. We're just going someplace. And people do that to me all the time. And I'm like, God, I want to get away from this person. Anyways, uh, love. So when you look at creation itself and you look at the systems, you got to break things down. You got to break things way down. When you look at it, you can see his mind. You can see what he wants, what he intended, what he was aiming to protect. There's diversity, but there's singularity. And how should I say this? How do those two things relate? Diversity and singularity. I don't know. And that's probably why I'm here a little too early. I'm never going to bullshit you. I'm never going to tell you something that hasn't been confirmed in my spirit. If I bring it to you, I bring it to you with conviction, because let everything be established in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. So, I fear God. I fear, being a gold-plated prophet. You understand? I don't want to be that. He spent years incubating me so that I wouldn't do like the nations do. So yeah. Anyways, coming up on the time, and this wasn't even intended. This is just a random, because I'm trying to get in the rhythm. I started the YouTube page, and so I know I'm going to have to get into some sort of cadence of content creation, and I only know how to be real. And so this was my real thought. Even if I don't handle the thought well, I'm going to tell you that. I'm just going to, it's very easy for me to be honest and transparent. So I don't have to make any preparation to do that. That's just who I am. So that's easy for me. And so if it comes off as disjointed or discombobulated or, incoherent, I am working on it. I'm working on it. I am working on it. The thing is that, man, it goes through the cycles and the loops of loneliness, because I need help. I don't have help. I really need a job, but I don't want a job right now, because that's just not going to work for my mission. I would rather work for you all. I have that big van, couple cars. I wish we had a strong enough relationship where, as though I could, say, okay, my minimum, time earning is $60 an hour. What can I do for you? Anything. Like I said, I got a big vehicle. I can transport goods. I'm pretty good at organizing, pretty good at many things. And I thought about doing this or offering this, and because I need to pay for my software stack. Like I'm not even my living situation, as you all have probably known. My place where I was living, the management company, Dominion Management. God, Lord knows, I don't want to be negative towards them, but anyways, I had to leave short notice. Was able to find a temporary place that doesn't cost me a lot, um, but it needs a lot of work, and a lot of stuff is happening here. I'll even show you. Look at the ceiling. Look, there's all kinds of crap happening here. But anyways, I don't care about that, because I'm a soldier. I've been through worse. I've been through so many things. Like that's the beauty about being a made man. There's no fear. There's no fear. I have no fear. So, anyways, I need money though, but I don't want to chase money right now. Like I could easily sharpen up my resume and land something, but I would rather work for you. So I don't know, man. If that, I don't care. I don't have pride. I don't have ego in that sense. If there's something you suspect that I might be able to help you with, reach out, let me know, because I need to pay for I'm in a development phase. And because I don't have, organic support, I'm using, artificial intelligence as support, not just as support, just to accelerate, my work product, if you will. And so at the level with which I operate, I can't use the out of the box stuff. I need premium features, the stuff that's hidden behind the paywall. So because I'm kind of advanced, so I need money. You know what I'm saying? I need money, but I don't need a job right now. And Lord knows, man, I always imagine being a bartender. I wish I can find some sort of gig that's just kind of a cash situation. If anybody knows anything like that I could potentially, I don't have those relationships. I've been kind of secluded. So yeah, I need to make some money, but I don't want to go into a corporate structure right now. I'm not going back into a corporate structure because they just use and abuse my abilities and skills. And then, anyways, it's manipulative, and I'm not doing that anymore. But it costs to be out here. So I need to earn. And I got some gig apps. I have that Spark driver deal. The math in these things don't make sense, man. And that it's hard for me to do because I done pulled up to the place and did the stuff. And once my mind does the calculation, I'm like, wait, that's it? This doesn't make sense. And then I drive my ass right back home. So yesterday I did like a hack. I was on my way, when I made that video, I was on my way to pick up my younger brother to help him out with some banking affairs. And, a guy was sticking out his finger. And I'm like, that's a better little short income deal than these gig apps, because God knows, man. Anyways, I don't want to go on a tangent, but we are not smart, and systems know that we're not smart. And so what gets me is that a person could, like, that I don't know. It's like it's strange because you could generate the capital and but you're looping, and that I just can't do myself. I can't. And that's what makes it hard for me to work with companies. Like once I identify where the flaw is, it's hard for me to continue to participate. It just doesn't work that way for me. I can't do that. It's like, this doesn't make sense. Once I see where it doesn't make sense, it's my stomach is like, we're not doing that. So, I'd rather work for you, the people I care for anyway. I'd rather work for you. I'd rather come reorganize your space. Like, okay, here are the things I'm good at. I'm pretty good at painting, although whatever, I don't want to be doing that, but I can. I can transport you, things, big things, whatever I could transport. I'm very good at organizing. Like that I kind of personally enjoy. It kind of allows my OCD to kind of manifest itself, like arranging spaces, like if you live in a small space, the better. If you got a bunch of shit in a small space, that's a great puzzle for me. I love just trying to, and I would make space with no space. I enjoy. That's the puzzle. That's the challenge I love. What else can I do? Many things. Websites, programs, whatever. I can pretty much figure out anything. So maybe this message turns into that because, you know, maybe that is the message, singularity and integration. We're individuals, but we need to find collective solutions. We need to find collective solutions. This is this is the language of tomorrow. It should have been the language of yesterday, but it needs to be here today and tomorrow. We need better ways to meet our needs. And so, me myself, while I have great potential and great capacity being a free man, the system is designed to capture me and contain me because you can't see me, you can't recognize me, and because you can't recognize me, you associate no value with me. But I could be the thing that turns you into a millionaire. And because you can't see me, you'll never be able to see yourself. And that's the way he designed the system: singularity and integration, So maybe it worked itself out. And he always does that. And I love that, So, anyways, find something I can do for you that you can pay me, Like I said, my benchmark that I have in mind is about $60 an hour. Some of you may think that that's aggressive, but given the skill sets that I have and what you may get, and I'll leave that flat no matter what I do for you. If it's this, that, $60 an hour. If this, that, $60 an hour. It's a flat number. I don't care because I don't even think of the money anymore in terms of valuable increments. These are just units that are used to accomplish other things. It's just a transfer device. That's all money is. It's just a transfer device. So I need some transfer devices. I need to be able to transfer these dollars into the resources, and I'm not even committed to holding on to my cars and things like that. I just put my Jeep up for sale on Marketplace yesterday. So if you guys know anyone that's interested in that, I put it out there for 6,200, but my floor, my seat will probably be somewhere around 5,500, 5,000 at the floor. And, my, allocation plan from that, I don't know. It's all survival, but like I said, what's valuable for me is to concentrate my focus, resources, and efforts on developing these frameworks. There's two primary projects that I'm working on, EI and Mind Shapes. EI is execution intelligence under the banner of Alexio, and Mind Shapes is where my philosophical and systems oriented work lives, but the same thing translates to execution intelligence. So it's my same mind that functions in the personal space as well as the professional space. And so that's all that is. And then there are extensions and other projects that extend from those, but those are the two core primaries. And so execution intelligence is built out. I'm working with a young man by the name of Connor. He is flushing out the details for the EI website. Mind Shapes, I have some, I have the site map for that. But anyways, development costs, that's the other expense, in terms of development. So I need development money. That's what I need. And so I don't want to go back into a job just to have development money, and then I get pulled into their little problems and objectives and stuff, and then I like, ooh, I can fix this, and I don't want to fix any more corporation stuff. And some of them get so opinionated. Talk about egos. Companies have egos too. Lord Jesus, and that's where execution intelligence comes in terms of Alexio, and I'll be offering sessions and so forth to corporations. So you're looking at a rich man, just not yet. Not yet. So I'm showing you how, and when I look at stuff like this, when I look at, my living situation and how much I'm going through, I say that this is going to be beautiful for the story. That's how I process it. That's how he's kind of made me crazy. Like in my spirit, I'm thinking and I'm talking, and I'm like, this is going to make great texture, but I'm in a fucked up situation. You understand? But I guess that's what it's like to move in faith, is that because I don't see it like a fucked up situation. It is fucked up, but it's not going to stay fucked up. You understand? That's the beauty about faith, is that the circumstance is not static. It's fluid. So you got to know that life is always in motion, and you got to stay in motion with life. You understand? And so your attitude should be aligned with source and what, and all things are possible. All things are possible. So if you're living in the space of all things being possible, then all things are possible, despite what it looks like. Despite what it looks like. You understand? Like, I like opulence. I like to live in the hotel lobby. I like to live in places that look and have that vibe to it. That anybody that's visited me know that my places be swagged out. But I'm not swagged out right now. I can't even get no cutty right now because I'm too embarrassed to entertain a woman thinking that this is not in alignment with who I am. But who the fuck I think I am? You understand? I ain't nobody, and that's just what it is. And so that's what I'm saying. There are conflicts that exist within me, in terms of uh, ego, mind. It's a beautiful place. We're all kind of fucked up, but that fucked upness is the beauty. You understand? So, like, what we imagine to be fucked up, think of flowers, think of bugs, insects, the different variations. Like, in his mind, nothing is fucked up. It all has the potential for beauty. All things have the potential for beauty. There's an interesting, the first chapter, I want to say, of Master and Margarita. It's a book, and I forget the author's name right now, but there's a chapter in there where the character Jesus is talking about Jesus and his engagement with Pontius Pilate in the Masters and Margarita. And Jesus, the character Jesus, kept saying good man or good master. And he got himself whipped for saying good master. And then I think Pontius Pilate had asked him, well, why are you calling everybody good? And he explained, and I'm not going to try to like remember that word for word right now because I'm going to mess it up. But the concept is what I'm describing is that he literally sees the good in everything and everyone. And so he aligns his attitude, like the attitude. What is the attitude? The attitude is the energy. It's the signal. It's the flow. You see what I'm saying? If you get almost like when you're taking a poop and you constipate, you know what I mean? That's not a good experience. But when you've eaten right and you got the right stuff in your body. I'm beginning to experience that. I know my body looking frail because I've been fasting like a lot, like a whole lot. But don't worry, I'm gonna build it back up. I got my 6-pack, no fat. I can show you. Maybe I get some cutty in here at that point. But anyways, I'm just being silly. I got to get up and do my walk, get some coffee, get my day going. But love, singularity and integration. You understand? How can things maintain their uniqueness but work together? That's the point of it all. And that's the thing that we have to figure out. Okay? So that's the lesson. And the ask is figure out what I can do for you that you can pay me for, because I need to pay for the software and development and all that kind of stuff. And then if you're one of those people that help me out, when I'm rich, I'll send you a check. Okay? Have a good day.